my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Cyborg versus Liana. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Blanco Franca versus Gregor Glipsy. And Gregor looks like a decent prospect. He looks like he's mainly a striker with a decent top game. But that's about it. I think Blanco's got just as good striking, but I think he's got the better conditioning and the better wrestling overall. So I think he'll be able to wear Gregor down and eventually get a finish, probably late third with like a submission or a TKO. Next is Vincent Luque versus Hector Urban, and these guys are the exact same. They both have great offense, but they both have horrible defense, which is why they both have a lot of wins and a lot of losses. I'm just going to go with Vincent just because he's been looking better as of late, as where Hector is just kind of... He looks like, Vincent looks like he has better cardio, and it's more like he gets caught and stuff because he's too aggressive, as where Hector just kind of... It's a little bit of everything. He kind of gasses, he kind of... gets caught and stuff. I just think Vincent's been looking better, and I think he'll probably get a submission, probably in the third with like a rear naked choke or something. Next is Alan Patrick versus Stevie Ray, and Stevie Ray's looked great since he came into the UFC. I think he's 3 or 4-0. His striking's looked good. His jiu-jitsu's been looking good. His conditioning's been looking good. I think Alan Patrick is just a decent striker, and that's about it. He wastes a lot of energy doing everything he does. He's the type of guy that just throws flashy strikes and that's it. I mean, he doesn't throw a lot of clean striking, and he gasses, and he's just not consistent. I mean, he can beat the really shitty people, but he just can't beat anybody decent, and I feel like that's what this fight is. Stevie Ray is above average, and I think Stevie Ray is going to weather the early storm and then start clipping him, and then eventually win by TKO probably in the third. Next is Eric Silva versus Luna Charges, and Luna... he's okay. I just feel like there's nothing special about him. He's got striking and jiu-jitsu. He's kind of like, in my opinion, just a shittier version of Eric Silva. I feel like unless Eric Silva's chin is completely gone, he should be able to take this fight to the ground and probably win by submission. But you never know. His chin could be the shit, and he could get knocked out by this guy. But like I said, I just feel like these guys have the same style. Eric Silva's just a little bit better everywhere. So I'm going to say Silva wins by like first round rear naked choke. Next is Jussier Formiga versus Dustin Ortiz, and I feel like we've already seen Dustin Ortiz lose to a guy who's a better grappler than him when he fought Wilson Hayes, and I feel like Wilson Hayes, Jussier Formiga already out-grappled and out-striked Wilson Hayes, and I feel like that's what's going to happen in this fight. I think Jussier Formiga's striking has been getting better every single fight, and I think his grappling was already a level or two higher than Dustin's, so I feel like Jussier is probably going to win at least the first 2 rounds, maybe lose the third, but I say he wins this fight pretty clearly 29-28. Next is Hani Yahya versus Michinori Tanaka, and this is a really weird fight because I think Michinori Tanaka has a really strong chance of pulling off an upset here, but at the exact same time, I think that these guys both have the same weakness in that their conditioning is shit, but Hani Yahya, in my opinion, is at least able to, even when he's tired, is still able to kind of grapple, as our Michinori Tanaka will basically stop doing anything. And I think as long as Hani Yahya keeps the pressure on him, he should probably be able to get a finish. And I don't think Michinori Tanaka's striking is good enough to just overwhelm Hani. So I think as long as Hani doesn't get caught really early in the first, he should be able to wear him down and eventually get a submission. But like I said, I could see Michinori winning by first round TKO, but it's super close. This is probably the closest and most likely to have an upset on the whole card, but I'm still going to pick Hani Yahya to win by third round rear naked choke. Next is Gilbert Burns versus Michael Prazeres, and Michael Prazeres is not impressive. He's like a good wrestler with solid jiu-jitsu, and that's it. He's super boring. I mean, his striking is just okay. It's just, guys have a hard time taking him down, and he's really good at taking other people down. But I feel like once he fights people that are well-rounded and better strikers than him with good takedown defense, he just fucking can't do anything. It's just he's good at beating shitty people, and this is a good test for Gilbert Burns because we're going to see how good he actually is. I think his jiu-jitsu is a level or two higher than Michael Prazeres'. So if this goes to the ground, I think he can submit him. And I think his striking is good enough where he should be able to outstrike Michael Prazeres. But you never know. That's what I mean by this is a real test for Gilbert Burns because this is going to show if he's really top 15 or not. Because if he can't outstrike Michael Prazeres, then that's like getting shot in the foot basically for your career. But I'm going to say I think Gilbert Burns is the better striker, and he's clearly the better grappler, so I think that he will get a finish. I think he'll win by second or third round knockout. Next is Godofredo Pepe versus Mike De La Torre, and Mike De La Torre is a really good striker, and that's about it. His takedown defense has gotten better and better with every single fight, but he has so many submission losses. And he's going up against a jiu-jitsu guy, and it's just one of those things where this is just such a bad matchup for him stylistically. I feel like even in the fights Pepe's lost, he's gotten the fight to the ground. That's like the one really solid thing I can say about him is I've never seen a fight with Pepe where it didn't go to the ground. And I feel like if he can pull this fight to the ground, he should be able to win by submission. So, and this is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to somehow force this to the ground and win by like rear naked choke or something. So I'm going to pick Pepe. Next is Thiago Santos versus Eric Spicely, and Eric Spicely's not UFC level. I mean, he's a decent jiu-jitsu guy, but that's about it. His wrestling's okay. His striking's not very good. I think Thiago Santos is just more athletic, and his wrestling, especially his takedown defense and his ability to get back up, are way too high a level for Eric Spicely, and obviously his striking is like 100 times better than Spicely's is ever going to be. So I think Thiago Santos is going to stuff a takedown or two and eventually land a head kick or something and win by knockout. Next is Francisco Trinaldo versus Paul Felder, and I feel like this fight's going to be a lot like the fight Felder had with Josh Berkman, except for Francisco's going to land more takedowns and have more top control when he does. Because I thought that fight with Berkman could have went either way. I thought it was super close. And I think this is going to be similar, except for Francisco is going to be more dominant and win a clearer decision. I just don't know why he's fighting Paul Felder. He's won like 6 or 7 straight, and they keep on giving him guys who aren't in the top 15. And it's weird because this is a super winnable fight for him too. So it's not like they're giving him this guy that's probably going to beat him, which is usually what happens in situations like these. But like I said, I think that Trinaldo and Felder will probably be about even striking wise. Felder might be a little bit better, but I think Trinaldo's wrestling's got a huge advantage over Felder's, and I think he'll hit takedowns and edge out the decision because of that. Next is Roy Nelson versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva, and Bigfoot Silva's done. I mean, in his last fight against Stefan Struve, he got knocked down in like 13 seconds, and it was with like a jab straight kind of punch. It wasn't the hardest punch I've ever seen. It was like the very first punch Stefan landed knocked him out. And Roy Nelson, he's been kind of up and down recently, but still, I mean, you don't see him getting rocked or anything. I mean, aside from the fight with Mark Hunt, he still looks like he can take great hits and all that. And I thought he won against Derek Lewis. I thought it was a little weird that he didn't get the decision, especially since he was in his hometown. And I thought it was pretty clearly a 2-1 fight for him, but whatever. But like I said, Silva's done. I mean, his chin is not there, and Roy Nelson is still, like I said, at least average. So I think Nelson's going to win by first-round knockout. Next is Renan Barão versus Felipe Nover. And Felipe Nover, just like with the Eric Silva fight, I mean, Felipe Nover is basically just a shittier version of Renan Barão. I think they're really similar, striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu-wise, but Renan Barão is like 3 or 4 levels higher than him in everything. Unless Renan Barão's chin is like completely gone at this point, which I don't think it is, then, I mean, he's just going to dust this dude. I feel like they're clearly trying to feed Renan Barão a win because this is just my own personal opinion, but I'm pretty sure they want Barão to fight Pettis because they want that 2 former champions fight. That's just a guess. You never know. It might not happen, but I'd be shocked if it didn't. And that's what this is. I feel like they're just trying to give Barão a win so they can set that fight up. And he's going to win because, like I said, there's nowhere in this fight where Felipe is better. The only way he can win is if he catches him with a big punch and Barão's chin is gone, but I don't think Barão's chin is gone, so I think Barão's going to win by knockout, probably in the first or second round. Finally, we got Cyborg versus Liana Lansberg, and this is just like Cyborg's debut fight. There's nobody to fight her right now because she can't make that weight. So they're just feeding her somebody to keep giving her, you know what I mean? Like, they're just giving her fights because she needs fights. She wants to fight a couple times a year, and they're like, yeah, we'll just give you somebody not necessarily shitty, but just not amazing. You know what I mean? This chick is 6-1, and she's not ranked in the world. She's just a decent striker. And, I mean, we saw what happened in Cyborg's first fight in the UFC. She fought a decent striker in that fight, too, and she knocked her out in the first minute. And that's exactly what's going to happen in this fight. I think Cyborg's going to land a big shot sooner or later in the first when she finds her range. And when she does, she's going to knock her out. And that's what this fight's going to be. It's going to be like that until she starts fighting ranked people because she's just way better than them. So it's just a pointless main event, in my opinion. But like I said, first round knockout for Cyborg. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.